Parsha Lech Lecha. Parsha Lech Lecha is the third parsha of the Torah. But it's not just the third. As we know, 3 in Kabbalah represents harmony, shalom. What is the difference between peace and harmony? What's the difference?
Harmony is a balance. Peace is stillness.
Right. Peace means you are sitting in one room, the other person sitting in another, no interaction. Okay, nobody's fighting, nobody's arguing. Harmony represents a harmony, are harmonious, two opposites which harmonize, balance, and synthesize with each other. The third parsha represents 3, the harmonization between God and the world, with the introduction of Avram, the founder of Hebrewism. So, as we were saying before you walked in, Parsha Lech Lecha, this is a foundational parsha because, again, we are introduced to Avram, the founder of Hebrewism. Avram was the first Hebrew, which is the foundation for Judaism. It's the very first time that Hashem communicates to the prototype of all Judaism. And in this week's Parsha, as we're going to see, and as we're going to delve into the first portion a little bit later, is the very mission statement for all of Judaism and more particular for each one of our lives. The name of the Parsha is Lech Lecha. And why is on the surface level is because it's the very first words of the Parsha. Hashem spoke to Avram. Lech Lecha. Avram was born in Mesopotamia, Iraq. Avram was Iraqi.
Right?
Huh? In Mesopotamia, in Ur-Kasdim.
Ur.
And Hashem reveals himself to Avram at the age of 75 years old. Avram Avinu was an idol worshiper. As we say in Haggadah Pesach, right in the beginning of the Magid portion where we tell the narrative, we begin that portion by saying, in the beginning our forefathers were idol worshippers. Which forefathers? Avram. Avram was born to Terach, the greatest idol worshipper in his generation. To such an extent that when Avram's faith started peaking out at 3 years old, and he started delving, first he says, okay, so if there's a God, maybe he's the sun. But then he started recognizing he can't be the sun because the sun is only shining half of the day. And he went from this and that, and by process of elimination, by the time he was 40 years old, he came to recognize God. But even then, God didn't reveal himself to him. Hashem opened up this communication to Avram when he was 75 years old. By 75 years old, Avram already put into motion and set the tone for every major faith and religion that would come to him from him. After all, Judaism, Islam, and in 2 weeks' Parsha, we're going to find out that also all the Far East religion have been from Avram. The only question is, how do we connect to God? How do we stream God? What does the word mitzvah mean?
Commandment.
It means commandment. Why is it a commandment? We're commanded only in relationship to behaviors, mindsets, emotions that we're not naturally inclined to have. We're not commanded to eat food because every living organism consumes some sort of sustenance. We're commanded what type of food to consume, how to consume it, when to consume it, and so on and so forth. Yes, it is a commandment, but at a deeper level, the word mitzvah, the root word mitzvah, means connection, a bond. Each mitzvah is a mechanism to bond and fuse finitude and infinity.
Oh, what's the Hebrew for that?
Tzavta, tzevet, connection. Tzevet chibur. And so Hashem gives every human being a way to connect to Him, whether you're Jewish or not Jewish. That's why we Jews do not proselytize. That's why we don't go out to the world and say you got to convert in order for God to love you or for you to have a heaven, because God didn't make mistakes in the diversity that He creates. Every person in this world is created by God. Which part of your body is the most essential and most important?
Your brain.
Your brain. And what about your heart? What about your spleen? What about your liver?
Doesn't work without any.
Exactly. Each part of the body is essential to transmission and maintaining life. So too, the world is called a macro human being. The world has many nations into it. Each nation is like an organ. Each organ streams the life force, vitality, the way it does, radically different than the other ones. But together it makes one wholesome body, healthy body. So too, Judaism is the expression of Hashem's desire, as we said before in the previous class, to be drawn into the physicality, corporality. But there are other ways to connect to God as well. Okay, so that's just general. Let's look. Go ahead. Parsha in a nutshell, the name of the Parsha Lech Lecha.
The name of the Parsha Lech Lecha means God forth, and it's found in Genesis 12:1. God speaks to Abraham, command him, go from your land, from your birthplace, and from your father's house to the land which I will show you. There God says he will be made into a great nation. Abraham and his wife Sarah, accompanied by his nephew Lot, journey to the land of Canaan, where Abraham builds an altar and continues to spread the message of one God.
Continue.
A famine forces the first nephew to depart for Egypt.
The first Jew.
First Jew to depart Egypt, where beautiful Sarah is taken to Pharaoh's palace. Abraham escapes death because they present themselves as brother and sister. A plague prevents the Egyptian king from touching her, and convinces him to return her to Abraham and to compensate the brother revealed as husband with gold, silver, and cattle.
Continue.
Back in the land of Canaan, Lot separates from Abraham and settles in the evil city of Sodom, where he falls captive when the mighty armies of Chedorlaomer and his three allies conquer the 5 cities of Sodom Valley. Abraham sets out with a small band to rescue his nephew, defeats the 4 kings, and is blessed by Melchizedek, the king of Salem. God seals the covenant between the parts with Abraham, in which the exile and persecution, Galut, of the people of Israel is foretold, and the Holy Land is bequeathed to them as their eternal heritage. Still childless, 10 years after their arrival in the land, Sarah tells Abraham to marry her maidservant Hagar. Hagar conceives, becomes insolent towards her mistress, and then flees when Sarah treats her harshly. An angel convinces her to return and tells her that her son will father a populous nation. Ishmael is born in Abraham's 86th year. 13 years later, God changes Abram's name to Abraham, father of multitudes, and Sarai to Sarah, princess, and promises that a son will be born to them from this child, whom they should call Isaac. Will stem the great nation with which God will establish his special bond. Abraham is commanded to circumcise himself and his descendants as a sign of the covenant between me and you. Abraham immediately complies, circumcising himself and all the males of his household.
Okay, That's a parsha in a nutshell.
I thought that they named the son Yitzhak because she laughed, not because God told him to.
There's a lot to be said about this. Let's unpack it. What's your Hebrew name?
Menachem.
Menachem Ben? Your mom?
Sure.
Your mom?
I don't know how, but my cup is empty.
Huh?
Tzvio.
I don't know how, but my cup is empty.
That's a good question.
It's good dissociating there.
Ben?
Ben Tzvio.
Ben Sivia? Chaim. What's your Hebrew name?
Markiel,
Malkiel?
Ben Tamar.
Ben Tamar? What's your Hebrew? Michael Ben? Ben your mom?
Mom, Victoria.
Victoria. Esther Bat Shoshana? Esther Bat?
Rina.
Rina? What's your Hebrew name?
I don't know.
Rochelle?
No, Raphael.
Raphael, we said we're discussing
Rafael,
Ben?
Ben,
Ben?
David,
Ben your mom?
my mom, Ben, Raisa.
Raisa.
Gabriel,
Gabriel Ben?
Ben, Stella.
Ben Stella. Hashem should bless each and every one of you to enjoy and see with your own physical eyes continual success this week. Be merit to say the right things and do the right things with the right people, the right time, in the right manner, above your imagination.
Amen. Amen.
What happened to your trip, Rabbi?
Lech Lecha. So let's start unpacking this. Parsha Lech Lecha, again, is the first communication between God and the prototype of Judaism, Avram. And the very first communication that Hashem has with Avram is Lech Lecha, go, leave. You should go for yourself. For what purpose? You should leave. Where should you leave? You should leave your country, your birthplace, and your father's home, and travel to the land that I will show you. Mind you, again, Avraham was 75 years old at this point. Avraham was the very first Jew to be thrown into the oven. His father was so committed to idol worship that when he found out that his son rejected idolatry, he turned him in to the leader of that generation, Nimrod, and Nimrod gave Avraham a choice. Either you bow down to the God of fire, or you're going to be thrown into the furnace. Avraham says, had self-sacrifice. What is self-sacrifice? Not that I don't believe in anything. There is no other reality. What do you mean? We have 3 mitzvot out of 620 mitzvot that we have to relinquish our life for. Somebody puts a gun to somebody's head and says, break Shabbat. Have to break Shabbat. Your life takes precedent over Shabbat. Somebody tells you, eat pig on Yom Kippurim, or God forbid die. That's what you got to do. You got to eat. But there are 3 mitzvot which we're forbidden to transgress and rather relinquish our life. What are the 3? Idol worship, conversion, adultery, and murder. Those 3, if somebody puts a gun to this, kill someone, or we're going to kill you, it says, my blood is not running in theirs. Why are these the foundation? Because these are tied into your very being. For example, somebody tells you to stop keeping Shabbat, or we're going to take your life. That I have control over. I have control over whether or not I keep Shabbat. Stop honoring your father. That too I have control over. But if somebody puts a gun to your head and says, stop being your father's child, well, that I can't control. Nothing I can do will take away from that identity because I didn't create me. And even if consciously I didn't want to be my father's son, it's in my DNA. There's nothing I could do about it. That's why idolatry, a person cannot, because you can't, or conversion, you can't stop being Jewish even if you wanted to. Because this came from Hashem. Very interesting, there was a letter that was printed in Chabad.org from a Jew to a rabbi by the name of, ask Moses, his name just escaped me, but the letter says, "Dear Rabbi, although I was born as a Jew, I do not identify as a Jew. I'm not married to a Jew. I never practiced Judaism. I want nothing to do with Judaism. I put in my will to be cremated, and I don't want to be buried in a Jewish cemetery. My question to you, Rabbi, is there any formal ceremony in Judaism that I have to partake in order to formally and legally take my Judaism away?" The rabbi responds back, "From your letter, it seems that you've done everything humanly and consciously possible to stop being Jewish. And yet, something inside of you still tells you you're Jewish, and you need to do something more.
You need to ask the
And interesting enough, you're not calling a shrink, you're not calling a lawyer, you've turned to a rabbi to find out what to do." He says, "I'm sorry to tell you, there's nothing you could do. A Jew is a Jew is a Jew. Because you didn't make yourself Jewish. And you can't uncheck that box no matter what you do." So to those people who say, if a person not Shomer Shabbat, if they're not Shomer Mitzvot, and they're not Jewish, that's nonsense. That's idolatrous. A Jew is a Jew no matter what. A Jew does not keep Shabbat, it doesn't keep kosher, is just as holy as Moses, as Moshe Rabbeinu on Mount Sinai. Because it's not your behavior that makes you Jewish, it's who you are that makes you Jewish. And who you are is an essential piece of God. Nothing can take away from that. Judaism is a way that we stream God into this world. That's part and parcel of our function in this world. But it doesn't make us more or less Jewish. So the very first communication Hashem tells Avraham, Lech Lecha. This is the very mission statement of Judaism. These two words are the mission statement of Judaism. Lech Lecha. Who speaks native Hebrew here?
Me.
You? מה זה לך לך? אתה מדבר עברית? מה זה לך לך?
Go for yourself.
Go for yourself. As Rashi says, Lech Lecha, Lech Letovatcha, you go, it's going to be good for you. Right now, you don't have, you're barren, you don't have prominence, you know the truth, but you don't have anybody to teach. If you go to the land I'll show you, over there you'll have children, you'll have prominence, and so on and so forth. That's what we understand on a simple level. But one of our great rabbis, Rabbi Moshe Al-Sheikh, explains literally in these two words, that is, where was he supposed to go? We would think that, Lech Lecha, etc., El Haaretz Yishareka, to the land I'll show you. No, Lech Lecha. Where should you go? Go until you discover you. You have to go to discover who's the you? Who's the real you? For this, Hashem says, Lech lecha me'artzecha, mimoladcha, mibeit avicha. You want to discover who the real you is. Who you, not who are you. Are is already secondary to the you. Who you? First of all, the three conditional agents in our life. Social-based conditioning. And one more intrinsic. What is it? Your culture, your country, the country you're born to, with their cultures, subcultures, and so on and so forth. Then you have, that's mi'artecha. Then you have mimoladcha, from your birthplace. What is that? Your epigenetics. The genetics that you received, and that epigenetics, traumas, unresolved traumas, goodness and kindness. Epigenetics means everything that your parents experienced in their life, your grandparents has been transmitted to you through your genetics. You sometimes feel, as we on Monday night we discussed a story which a doctor tried to continuously commit suicide because not knowing that his mother in the Holocaust was approached and almost raped by a Nazi, and she wanted to commit suicide, and then she was rescued. She didn't need to, but that was transmitted to the child. And he started feeling that unconsciously, but it drove him to actually try. And then the third one is mi beit avicha, your logic, which is based on the first two. If you ask yourself, who is I? How much of us is a result of the culture that we were born into?
Conditioning.
how much of the way we think, the way we process, the way our patience, what we tolerate, what we don't tolerate, what we allow, is based on something that has nothing to do with us. It's just social-based conditioning. Now, it doesn't mean you have to run away from your conditioning, but at some points, if you want to discover you have to ask yourself, how much of me is really me? Also, epigenetics. In marriage therapy, one of the greatest discoveries that they had was 98% of your marriage, the success and the trials and tribulations of your marriage, is her parents versus your parents. Very simple. Unresolved issues, nature, nurture, what you've seen, what you've inherited, and so on and so forth. 98% hers. That's why a lot of it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't feel. It's just, I don't understand why are we like this. It doesn't make sense. Everything should be better. It should be, but I don't. Something's getting in the way.
You mean if your parents can get along with his parents?
No.
You said her parents versus his parents.
Yeah.
So what does that mean?
His upbringing from his parents, the genetics he inherited, their issues, and so on and so forth. Then there's the logic. Logic is a mechanism in which we process the world, in which we understand, we peel away, we delve, but logic is limited. It's essentially limited. And it's just, by design, it's important for it to be limited because we perceive things based on details, based on spatial details and timely details, and so forth. The first instruction to the first Jew, which is a mission statement of all of Judaism, Lech Lecha. Go for yourself. Go to discover yourself. Judaism is there to reveal to each and every one of us who is the real us. I remember before I started making tshuva, the days I used to dance in Limelight and raves and stuff like that. I remember one time I came from a party at 6, 7 in the morning. I was hanging out in Washington Square Park with like about 30 or 40 of my friends. And I bleached blonde hair, my Adidas suit and everything else, my earring, and some rabbi walked by. And I like to talk to anybody. So we got into a conversation. He asked me, why is your hair bleached blonde? And why do you dress like this? I asked him, why do all you guys wear the same black and white? He said, then why do you do this? I said, I'm expressing myself. I want to be unique. And he tells me, you mean unique like everybody else? And he turns me around to all my friends behind me. And all my friends have the same exact hairstyle, the same bleach blonde hair, the same Adidas or whatever it was. And I was thinking, yeah, you're right. Unique like everybody else. How much of you is really you? How much? This is a question that each one of us are treated to ask ourselves because, after all, you're living the only life that you have. And it's so limited, even if after 120, if Baruch Hashem we have 120 years, and Mashiach comes, we have 120 years. That's simply shortened days. How many days is that already? Especially if you're after 20, after 30, you start recognizing how fast it goes. And then when you really monitor and you start thinking how much we obsess with things that, in the long run, you start thinking, why did I spend and waste my time with this triviality and being upset here and angry? What was gained versus how much of my life was lost, and for what? If there's a purpose, doesn't matter. I'll go all the way out. But this brought to no purpose. So in order to live our lives and understand that each one of us are essentially unique and absolutely vital to God's plan, and God didn't make a mistake where which parents you were born in, which setting you were born in, so on and so forth. Every one of us is exactly perfect to what God needs us to be. But that means that we have to live our lives. If we waste our lives in something that has nothing to do with us, then as we learned here on Shabbat, we're not just doing a disservice to ourselves. We are meant to meet people. How many clients did you meet with today?
Today?
Yeah.
2.
2. How many?
4 or 5.
4 or 5. What do you do?
Enough clients today.
Okay? Each one of them was sent to you by God, by divine providence. And you're meant to talk to them and learn from them and teach or like something, and they buy something and all of this motion is all part of the divine providence. If you're not living your life and you're not connecting the way you need to, or you're, God forbid, wasting time that it doesn't need to be wasted, you're not just affecting you, you're affecting, as it were, God's master plan. The people you don't even know are going to be empty because you're not living your life. And this is so important. How old are you?
39.
Get out of here. How old are you?
42.
How old are you?
39.
Babies, a bunch of babies.
Yep.
Could you imagine? Dude, from this point, it goes so much. After 40, I'm going to tell you, what's 40? And I knew about it because the Mishnah tells us each decade brings another piece of your soul's consciousness into expression. 40 is Bina, is discernment. All the pieces start coming together and you start looking at things so much differently. And I knew this, but once you hit it, it just really happens. And then time starts elapsing so much quicker, so much quicker. What you don't want to do is be wasteful with you. In life, we have to honor, respect, and appreciate three essentials: the essential soul, essential individual, the essential second, the essential penny. Penny. Because if one person isn't important, why should 6 million people be more important? 6 million times one. What's more important? It's all the same ones. If 1 second is not important, why should 1 billion seconds be important? If 1 cent's not important, then why should 1 billion cents, 1 trillion cents be important? When you appreciate the single, the unique individual, then every piece then is observed and looked at the way it needs to, and appreciate the way it needs to appreciate. Lech Lecha is the first portion that gives us this insight of who we are, what is our quality. We are the people who are continuously traveling through history to discover and reveal God wherever we go. Incidentally, and there's another life lesson here. What do you do with setbacks in your life? Anybody experienced setbacks recently?
Those are the biggest discovery, self-discovery of life.
You fall and you rise. You learn.
You cry.
This is why Hashem is giving it to us, to learn from it and to improve.
The Rebbe explains that the name of the Parsha, each Parsha, the name of anything in this world, is not by the way. The name of any given entity, whether it's a human being, or it's an animal, an object, or the Parsha, encapsulates the very essence of what is it. The letters in Hebrew are not just, by the way, written, nice calligraphy. The letters in Hebrew, according to Kabbalah, represents the way God streams into this world, the different channels that Hashem streams into this world. The combination of the letters and the sequence of the letters represents the way the energy is drawn into this world. Therefore, the name of anyone represents who they are. Your name is what connects your body to your soul. That's why each reincarnation you have a different name. Because although it might be the same soul, it's a different body, and therefore the soul has to stream into a different physicality and a different matter.
Do you meet the same soulmate in every
We had this conversation before, and we'll have this, and we'll
The answer.
we had this in the previous class. I just don't want to. It will be on the recording, and in 2 weeks from now, we're going to actually give this, not in the Parsha class, in one of the classes, we're going to discuss soulmates. But the name Lech Lecha means go for yourself. Progression means essentially the entire Parsha should have been progression, all about progress. Indeed, Hashem tells Avraham, Lech Lecha me'artecha me'savicha la'aretz asher ereka, etc., etc. Seemingly, the entire portion should have been all one long progress. And indeed, we see that Avraham leaves Mesopotamia, travels to Israel, to Eretz Canaan, sets up a Chabad house there, starts teaching. And first, he enjoys great success, and he himself spiritually rises within the dimension of kindness, etc., etc. But then, as you just read, a famine breaks out in Canaan. And interestingly, this famine occurred only where Avraham lived. Like a gloomy cloud right over him. And everybody in the land points a finger at Avraham. Avraham brought a curse upon us. He, with his nonsensical monotheism, has angered our gods. And that's why they're withholding the blessing of the rain. Now you would think Hashem would have made a miracle at that point. Hashem, after all, sent Avraham to teach the world about him. Avraham being unwavering, Hashem should have said, I sent you, I back you up, let me show them who's real. No miracle. Avraham is forced to pack up and leave. Where does he leave to? Egypt. One reason is because in Egypt, Avraham understood that this is divine providence, there's no food here. And the way he was connected to people is through food, through drinks, and so on and so forth. And now there's no food. He says, okay, so my mission here is done. Obviously, Hashem doesn't want me to be here. Where is there plentiful? Egypt. The word for Egypt in Hebrew, Mitzrayim, the root for Mitzrayim is Meitzarim V'Gvolim. Mitzrayim is not just a geographical locale. It's a state of perpetual self-slavery, where the ego takes you and puts you into a prison, whether it's through anger or through anxiety or fears or this. It's a place where you cannot be yourself. You can't feel like yourself. You can't express yourself. You feel like you're trapped. That's Egypt. Egypt represents the dark forces. And as Avraham comes closer to Egypt, all of a sudden he looks at Sarai and says, wow, you're beautiful. Till that moment, he never noticed her beauty. And
how old was he during this time?
At this time, he was 75 years old. This Parsha takes place, Avraham turned 75 years old. In other words, the first time Hashem reveals himself, after Avraham's long life and everything that he experienced until that point, which is in itself a lesson, Hashem wants you humanly to do everything possible to you to work, for you to appeal, for you not to rely on miracles, not to rely on some spirituality and a pie in the sky. You have to go to the nitty gritty. You have to learn how to dig. You have to learn with your own power. Otherwise, Hashem could have just left us in heaven.
What was Sarah's age?
She was 9 years younger than him. 8 years younger than him.
How do you feel about the idea of heaven or hell being within you
Here, you can put it
instead of above or below you?
Email Chaim yet?
Wait, what's the question?
Again, I don't know what's.
Are you a righty or a lefty?
I'm a lefty. Thank you, brother. My question was, how does he?
Yeah, not that right on.
I thought you were asking about.
I was. No, what was
the cake?
No, you asked. No, you said, how do you feel about?
Heaven and hell being within you instead of above
Oh.
or below you. So it's more of like a state of mind or a feeling.
So, first of all, Judaism does not have a hell. We don't have a hell. There's Gehenom, which is like a spiritual washing machine that cleanses the neshama for up to 11 months at the most, unless it was really, really evil. Then it's a little bit more. But that's it. But what you've said is 100% accurate. The concept in itself is 100% accurate. Because, as Kabbalah Chassidut explains, within, as we said in the Davin class, human being created the term infinity to represent something which is not finite. But still, infinity is still a creative, a spectrum. It's a created concept. God is beyond infinity. We recognize God as a creator But he doesn't just create. Creation is something he does. He's not a creator. We can't even fathom what God is. We have no idea. We understand the world, the universe, and we don't even understand this world. We don't see microwaves, Wi-Fi. We don't see 99% of the world. We don't have the ability to see without. Now we have technologies. How much more so God? Once God created and creates the universe and the world, He created Bereshit bara Elokim. In the beginning, Hashem created the heaven and the earth, means time and space. Bereshit is time in the beginning, and space. Space and time and space was the beginning of creation. But to infinity, and I'm using a borrowed term, to infinity, the highest of the heights and the lowest of the low are all the same. No difference. To us, for creation there's a difference. Higher, lower, this and that, warmer, colder. But the reality is, it's all here. All of it. Every spectrum, every layer of creation is right here. Just there's degrees of awareness. It's right here. Because we know the famous interview after Yuri Gagarin went into outer space, the first Russian cosmonaut. So was it Brezhnev? I think it was Brezhnev asking. He comes back down, and he says, "No, you went into outer space. Did you see God? Because God is up there. Did you see God up there?" He says, "No, all I saw is vast emptiness." And he turns to the camera and says, "You see this proof there's no such thing as God." Because he went up there and he didn't see anything. The universe in itself, as vast as could be trillions of galaxies, all of it is created. For Hashem, it's all nothing. All of it, the heavens of the heavens and the lowest of it's all nothing to Him. For us, created being, there are layers. But in reality, why do most people say that God is over there?
It's abstract.
Because
there, you don't know what there is.
Exactly, because it can't be here. You know why? Here, there's a phone, there's a cup, here, there's we. Can't be that God is here. It has to be somewhere out of the world. Where, I don't know, but it just can't be here. The novelty that Avraham teaches in this week's Parsha, this is the novelty of Judaism, is that Vikasham Beshem Havaya Kel Olam. Avraham said at an orchard, a Chabad house, he invited guests and so on and so forth. And what he would teach him, monotheism. But what monotheism? Where's God? Here. This is the novelty of Judaism. That God is in every spectrum of creation. Every every nuance, every up and every down, that's all God. Every single situation, the darkest, the most brightest is all God. This is a novelty. So heaven, it's all here. All of us here.
So the same with God. God is within us as well.
Yeah, of course. That's who you are. Your soul is God, a piece of God. You have a piece of infinity in you. You have two souls in you, and they're both created by God. You have your godly soul, which is literally a piece of God, a piece of infinity, which is responsible to give you transcendence, like always looking upwards, is always wants to be holier, better, whatever it is, and it is a part of you, which your corporal soul, your animal soul, psychology calls it ego, but it's responsible for your corporal existence, for your movements, for your body, and everything about your body. That's your animal soul. It has a consciousness. I'm here. I need to survive. It's responsible for survivability, and therefore all the issues of survival comes from that. And we're here to be able to harmonize between these two. That's why God gives us both of these spectrums. Because He wants us to harmonize these two. He doesn't want us to be heavenly, and He doesn't want us to be down in the trenches. He created both in order for us to be able to harmonize these two. And that's why each and every one of us has two different extremes within ourselves. There's a part that wants to be very holy and a part that doesn't want to be so holy. There's a part of this and a part of this. And all of it by design. There's nothing wrong with you. Actually, as we said yesterday in the relationship class, that's what's strong with you. That's what's good about you. That's by design. We're not here to eradicate the physical, the corporal. We're not here to run away from the physical life. We're here to harmonize that with truth. That's what we're here for. Abraham travels to Egypt, and over there, Sarai gets kidnapped by Paro. And there's a question, where is Lech Lecha here? Where is the continued progression? The name of the Parsha Lech Lecha, continued progress. Hashem says Lech Lecha, where's the progress? Yes, in the beginning there's progress, but then one fall after another. It seems like everything is regressing. Says the Rebbe, there are two types of progress in life. There's what's called development, and there's what's called growth. In development, or sequential growth and dynamic growth. Sequential growth means you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, a million, a trillion. But it's just the same one reoccurring over and over. Grander, bigger, but the same. Nothing really changing. Just more of the... That's development. Then there's growth. A seed transforming to a tree. What's the process that the seed needs to transform into a tree, George?
Water.
No, before that.
Planting.
Where does the seed start?
Photosynthesis.
No. Where does... In the fruit, hanging high on the tree, surrounded by foliage and light and birds. And now it's plucked away. It's taken out of the fruit and then buried deep into the ground. And if you were the fruit, what would you feel? If you were the seed, what would you feel deep inside the ground? Dark, gloomy. And you know what happens to the seed once it gets buried? The earth starts withering the shell of the seed. Now it's losing itself. It's losing everything it knows about itself. This is to add insult to injury. But nothing's wrong here. Actually, the one who planted the seed realized he doesn't want another 5 seeds. He wants a tree. And this process of ultimate regression begins a process of metamorphosis to the ultimate growth. Every time you're about to grow, and we learn it from this parsha, and you should know this in business, in relationship, in Judaism, in any aspect of your life, remember this, because this sets the tone for how the process is going to happen. Anytime you're marked for essential leaping, for growth, there's going to first be a recession. Like the seed. It has to be taken away, because up there it cannot become a tree. It cannot grow. It's great, but that's all it is, a seed. In order to grow, in order to essentially change, everything you know has to wither back. But instead of fighting it, if that seed wanted to hold on to the fruit and hold on to its exterior shell and fight what's happening, it's going to die there. Because there's a process that Hashem put in. Don't fight it. You have to see it for what it's meant to be. And instead of being angry at it, and anxious with it, and so on and so forth, there's Hashem in this world. And it's fine. And it's good. I got to do what I got to do. But I can't lose. I can't be upset. I can't be angry. I can't be anxious. For what? For whom? That's wasting time. And indeed we see that Avraham went to Egypt, and that, as our sages explains, ultimately, it says, Amasa Avot Siman Abadim, that which occurred to the forefathers is a designation of what's going to happen to the children. Avraham, the founder, the prototype of all Judaism, went down to Egypt, and that, as Hashem, in this week's Parsha, Hashem makes a covenant with Avraham. An oath, which we're going to get to in just a minute, and we're going to conclude. Hashem makes a covenant with Avraham, and he tells him, your children are going to go into a foreign land. Your descendants are going to go into a foreign land, and over there they're going to be enslaved. But I'm going to raise them back up with great wealth. Indeed, what our Torah explains that being in Egypt was a precursor to receiving the Torah. We needed to go through that humbling in Egypt. That slavery, it humbles us. It transformed us from being heavenly bound into earthbound. Where all of Judaism is all about the physical. Where before our forefathers were shepherds, sitting in the field, meditating, hitbodedut, seclusion all day, speaking to God. Before it was spirituality, it was primal. Torah reversed all of that. Torah says, you know what the most important thing? It's not your emotions, not your intentions, not your inspiration. That's all nice. If you have that cultivated, grow it, beautiful. But the main thing is, in this world is what?
Physical doing.
Your action. Action is the most important thing. Hamaiso ikar. Yeah.
I take us away from the action of just sitting on top of that mountain and just being connected all day.
We took ourselves off.
No, you because you're not meant to be there. That was the purpose of your being here.
What if we want to go back there? I mean, it's still a choice.
Well,
right?
what you do have is your soul. And that's a piece of infinity. You could always connect to that. And that's the whole purpose of the mitzvot, the Torah. It reveals within yourself. But just like you have children, Bezat Hashem you will. Those of you who have children know that when you're pregnant, when the mom is pregnant, oh, everybody's happy. And when the baby's young, oh, what a baby, so cute. And you carry the baby everywhere. So you didn't get pregnant and go through all of that so you could have a cute baby at home. You don't want an adult baby. You gave birth so this child will grow up and become a mensch. Not a human, humane. That they will be able to be someone in the world, that they'll go and change the world. They could be able to shape the world. You don't want somebody you have to carry wherever you go. So too, yeah. Yes, 2 nights ago's class, someone asked, why doesn't God speak to us like He did to Avraham, to like the Jewish people? Why don't?
I think He does.
He all the time, visually.
You just have to listen.
Yep, with your eyes, with your ears, whatever you hear, whatever you see throughout the day, that's God speaking to you. You walk by someone says something, just randomly, not even to you, just you heard, that's God speaking to you. There's a constant concert that Hashem is playing just for you. Knowing that you have your vessels, your understanding, and you're going to interpret this person. You could be with two people here in the same conversation. You'll interpret one way, and God will speak it to both you and I. Knowing that you will understand this way, I understand my way. Yes, God is always speaking to us. But why did God overtly speak it to us? Because imagine you grow up with your mom and your dad on either side of you your entire life. They'll never leave your side. You will never be able to grow up. You'll always, your growth is stunted. We spoke about it in the parenting class. Parents who, helicopter moms, helicopter parents, induce the greatest amount of anxiety in their children. And you don't see this anxiety until later on in life. Parents go, oh, you're so, you felt, let me get, oh, you didn't bring food to your school. I'll run there and get it for you. I'll stop everything for you. You think you're doing a favor to your child. You're destroying the child for life. Because what happens when they're going to be on their own and they won't know what to do? They'll be anxious. As soon as some challenge will come to them, they'll become anxious. Because they didn't get a chance to develop themselves. They didn't make a choice. They weren't able to fail. They weren't able to succeed on their own. It was all their parents doing. On their own, they don't know what to do. If God, when we're in the infantile stage of our life of Judaism, God did speak to us. He did move us from here to here. But we're not meant to be. We're meant to have free choice. We're meant to be able to choose between right and wrong. That's what gives us an advantage over angels. That's what makes us so pristine. The ability to fail and get back up, like you said. The ability to take the down and make it the up. That the failure in itself, when viewed and processed correctly, will result in an innovation that could have never happened without this failure. And that's why God gives us the capacity to fail. As we say in chapter 20 of Tehillim, they crashed and fell, but we rose up and rejoiced. When do you rise up? After failure. So understand, after any failing in life, there's an opportunity for essential growth. And the Torah is telling us right off the bat, and this is a harmony between God and between creator and creator, creation, between our ups and our downs. Because Avraham went to Egypt, that gave the capacity for the Jewish people to end up in Egypt. Avraham came out of Egypt, that gave the Jewish people the capacity to leave Egypt. Sarai was kidnapped by Paro when they were in Egypt, but he didn't touch her. He didn't rape her. That gave the capacity for all the women who were slaves in Egypt, not to, except for one, not to be raped. Avraham and Sarah left Egypt with great wealth. That gave us the capacity to leave Egypt with great wealth.
How does Lot mix into all this?
Oh, Lot teaches us a very powerful lesson. So Lot was Avraham's nephew, and they had to split. Avraham says, "Wherever you choose, wherever you go, I'll go the opposite way." Lot went to Sodom. Today, Sodom is the Dead Sea, the area where the Dead Sea is in Israel. And Sodom was a thriving metropolis. It wasn't like, like complete chaos like some people think. It was a thriving metropolis, much like what we have today in the world. What made it Sodom? That although they had a legal system and they had a culture, but the entire legal system was backwards. It was there to promote this negativity, destruction, and immorality. It's like we're seeing what's happening in the world today. And it happened to be but it was very wealthy, and it was a developed metropolis, and it happened to be that they regarded Lot as a very pristine person, and they appointed him as a judge, and he made it. On one hand, he knew the truth. On the other hand, he also made it in the world.
They were all idol worshippers, I'm assuming.
They were. There's so many different explanations of what it wasn't idolatry. It was immorality. It was immoral justice. It was anti-kindness. It was forbidden to be kind over there. It was forbidden to do the right thing over there. Just like we're seeing this happening right now in front of our eyes in the world. The first time when I learned it, when I started making sure, I was like, why would anybody want this? Like, why would everyone? Okay, we have a Yetzirah individually, but why create an entire legal system around this? And today you're watching this happening in front of our eyes. All the laws and everything, the new laws are there just to promote what? Destruction, for no reason.
More chaos.
Just care, and it doesn't make sense who's really benefiting from it. That was the issue. And he became a judge. And it happens to be that when Hashem sent 3 angels, the next week's portion, to Avram, to tell him, one angel to tell him Yitzchak is going to be born. The second one is to heal Avram from the Brit Milah that he had in this week's Parsha. And the third is to go and destroy Sodom. When the angel came to Avram, to Sodom, he told Lot, "We are letting you know, as a consideration to your uncle, that you have a few hours to leave here. Take your family and leave." Now imagine you just made it to the top of the top, literally the top of the top. You're the most prestigious person in the city now. You have access to everything, but spirituality comes and knocking. Says you need to leave here. It's not for you. This place is about to be destroyed. He tethered. He went back and forth. He wavered. And we're going to see next week there's 4 times this constellation that's used in the Torah. Only 4 times. Oh, and each time is somebody is going through a back and forth with themselves. They don't know what to do. They know, but they don't know.
They can act.
He eventually He had to leave last minute.
Pillar of salt, right?
His wife turned to a pillar of salt. This is where next week we're going to see what happens when a person is obsessed with their traumas. What happens when a person cannot let go of the past? It freezes them into a pillar of salt. There's a lot to be said. We'll explore this not today, but you have to move forward. No matter what happened thus far, it happened. Now is a new creation. Now you're a new creation. Move forward.
Rabbi, what does Sodom mean in Hebrew?
No, it's a place.
What's the reason
Yeah.
it isn't translated to?
No.
Okay.
Today it's the Dead Sea. That's why nothing grows there.
Sodom v'Gomorrah, no?
Yeah, Biduk. Biduk.
They found those cities, actually.
It is the Dead Sea. When you go to you've been to the Dead Sea in Israel? That's Sodom. That's why it's the lowest place on the earth. That's why nothing grows there. Because Hashem rains sulfur into Sodom to destroy it. That's why the Dead Sea is the Dead Sea. It's so salty. You ever been in the water?
Yeah,
Recently? It's quite an experience, isn't it?
It's the best.
Unless you have a cut.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It's
I-
overrated.
I was in. I climbed Mount Masada that day. It's into proximity, and I was running. I was like 17 years old. I was running down the hill and everything, and I slid, and I cut my knee. Okay, whatever. What's the difference? You go into the Dead Sea, and as soon as I felt like my entire foot was on fire, I started flailing. The water went to my eyes. It was, I learned the hard way. Yeah, quite an experience. Yeah, but you see, in the portion, there's so much. Now, one more point, and this is important to know. And this tackles back to the first thing we said, and it's important for you to know this, for your own mental well-being, and if you're a parent, and when you're going to be a parent, for the well-being of your children, which is, God made a covenant with Abraham. Why do we need to know that he made a covenant with him? What's the difference? Okay, we're Jewish. Who cares? The Torah, we know, is not a history book. Torah milashon hora'ah. Torah is an instruction. It's God's blueprint to creation. Why does the Torah tell us? It seems like we're learning a history lesson. Okay, there was Abraham and this. But every single character, every single persona, every human being that is in the Torah, we have inside ourselves. We have Avraham, we have Yitzchak, we have Ishmael, we have Esav, we have Paro, we have everything. We have emotion, every part. Kabbalah explains the different parts of our consciousness, of our psyche. Each one represents a different chesed Avraham, Gvura discipline is Yitzchak, and so on and so forth. Why do we need to know that Hashem made a covenant with Avraham? What's the difference between having a terrific friendship, an amazing friendship, versus having a covenant with someone?
Covenant might not necessarily benefit you. It's just
It's a contract, right?
A contract is a contract.
Formal.
No, a contract is a contract. It might not benefit you, but what's the purpose of a covenant?
Promise.
A promise is a promise. A covenant means when two friends want to make sure that their relationship is permanent, they make a covenant. A promise is, I promise you tomorrow I'm going to be this and this. But that really depends on so many variables and so many external circumstances that I have no control. And if everything lines up exactly as imagined, I'll keep my promise. But if not, look, I did my best. What do you want?
It's not circumstantial.
It's different.
A covenant is not circumstantial.
It's an eternal thing.
It touches the superconscious.
But it's a lot of faith.
It stems from the same place that faith does.
It's a moral
The-
contract.
It's not a moral contract. That's a promise is a moral contract. A covenant it streams from your superconscious, from the essence of who you are. In other words, no matter what the external variables are, this is going to be remaining this way. This covenant allowed the Jewish people to remain Jewish for all of history, and this is what guarantees the continuity of the Jewish people, no matter how many targets we have on us, no matter how much forces we have against us, no matter our own Yetzer Hara, no matter how we feel about God, whether you're religious or not religious. God made a covenant means you're mine and I'm yours, and nothing and no one in all of history. This covenant is a secret to our existence, our success, our livability. This is why, even though we're the most minute, and we are the one who was literally targeted by every major force in this world.
What word in Hebrew is used as covenant?
Great.
There's a brit, there is a shvu'ah, there's different words, but this is a brit.
So when he made the covenant with the rainbow with Noah, was that the same word or no?
Yeah. That covenant, by the way, it's just very important to know. Because that covenant that Hashem made with Noach, that I will never stop the seasons again. I will not, guarantees us that no matter what we do in this world, we can't destroy this world. So all this green peace and all this stuff that your ozone layer, that's complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. Because Hashem swore that He'll never destroy, He'll never stop this. We are responsible to be good guests in the Hashem world. We cannot pollute. We cannot be wasteful. Because it's Hashem's world. You're not allowed to waste. Because everything has a godly spark. You don't need it, give it to someone else. It means you don't need it. It means you're finished with this clothes. It means what your soul is connected to this spark. It's done. You already elevated. But somebody else might have a connection. Don't throw it away. We're not here to. That doesn't mean that if we're wasteful, we could destroy the world. We can't destroy this world. It's not up to us. It's God's world. But what we need to do is be good guests here and maintain this world for the Hashem and transform this world. But this teaches us something so important. Nothing will ever knock us down, ever. Consciousness, psychology, emotions go through stages, ups and downs, brighter, denser, more or less, but essence doesn't fluctuate. By definition, something essential does not grow, doesn't diminish, it remains constant. Each and every one of us has our soul, and that's the true you, and that doesn't fluctuate. Whether you're religious, not religious, that doesn't fluctuate. You're a Jew as a Jew, no matter what, and Hashem swore that He will never trade us for another nation. He will never get rid of us. In as much as a father could be upset with his child, and even, God forbid, fears his child, but as we said in the beginning, the father cannot say to the child, "You're not my child." Because that's the essential identity. It's running through your DNA. You can't stop that, even if you wanted to.
But how about the circumstances where fathers could disown their child and they do like a shiva?
That's nonsense. Nonsense.
They marry someone they don't like.
Nonsense. That's nonsense. A child is a child no matter what.
Do that.
No, they don't. No, they don't.
Their own thing. They Korea. They rip
No,
their
they
shirt.
don't. No.
That's retarded.
That's backwards. Your child is your child regardless of what they do. Your main purpose as a child, as a parent, is to raise them. As we spoke about last night in the relationship class, you're not here to control, and they're not here to give you nachat ruach, happiness, or this or that. You're here for them. Because that's the way God treats us. Essentially, your children are like, deem you like a Briggs truck driver. Remember learning this? No, you are the truck driver.
How do you feel about like renouncement?
Renouncement what?
The conditioning. Right? Let's say we've had this worldly conditioning and we want to break free. But that includes your name, that includes your religion sometimes.
You could try it.
Renouncement, that's your word?
Just, I let it go. Like it's...
You could try it.
Right.
It's it says the biggest...
I don't mean
your
from
identity, you mean?
Not the identity, even the, like you said, who are we? Right?
Again.
So everything we've been built to believe was the conditioning from the family, from the culture, from the world, from the business, from being a household, for all of that stuff. Now let's say you want to break free from that and try to recondition yourself. It's in a way renouncing some things, right?
That's not renouncing. That's discovery. And sometimes you have to go through a journey for that. Yes, sometimes you do. That's part of the journey. Could be a lifetime, it could be several lifetimes of a journey.
It's like the name wasn't given to. I mean, the name wasn't chosen by us. The religion wasn't chosen by us.
What's a Yehudi? What's the name Yehudi?
Jew.
Avraham was the first Hebrew.
Right.
What's Ivri? What's Yehudi? We are two. We're Hebrew, אנחנו עברים, אנחנו יהודים. What's the difference?
One's a nation, one's a religion.
No. Neither a religion, neither a nation. Neither. What is the difference between Hebrew and Judy, and being Hebrew and Judy? Hebrew, Avraham HaIvri, the one who was on the other side. On the surface level, it means because he came from Mesopotamia, from across the river, and he transposed the river, so now he's on the other side. But really, because the entire world that was under auspices of idolatry, and Avraham was the first one to say that all the forces of this world are forces. A force cannot create itself. The gravitational, as it says, Avraham says, what spins the world? How come? It doesn't just do nothing by itself. That was one of the first questions that I had when I was growing up in public school. I asked my physics teacher, I get that everything's measurable and so on and so forth, but I'm going to ask you a question. I know Earth is in space, but where's space? Because I recognize that, fine, Earth has a certain size, but can space go forever? Is there such a thing as forever in a universe? Could go trillions of miles. But can there be a forever? No. And the gases colliding. Fine. How do these gases begin? In other words, there had to have been a condition of absolute nothingness, and something started it. Something had to start from this nothingness to something. That's God.
What did the physics teacher say?
He had no answer. That's why it's launched beyond the question. I
Said the Big Bang.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the Big Bang. I agree. I told him, fine, I agree. I didn't care either direction. I said, fine. We came from the single cell, from the monkey, the single cell amoeba. Fine. Okay, oh, good. Big Bang, gases colliding. Where did the initial begin? Where did the reaction means there's already one or two things happening? Initially there had to have been absolutely nothing. I'm not talking about darkness, because darkness is still something. I'm saying nothing.
Rabbi, actually the science supports it, and there's a famous book by Stephen Hawking, and they explain what do they mean. This must be the hand of God, the touch of God that initiated all that. So actually it supports that.
Of course, because there's no way, and even logically you could say, you don't look at any of the paintings or anything like this to say that it made itself. As one of our sages says, how many times would you have to throw ink on a canvas for it to make a beautiful painting with a beach scene and people walking and birds and this? How many times would you randomly throw ink and paint on a canvas to make this kind of a painting? How many?
It would never happen.
How many times would you take a bunch of letters and shake them up like a billion letters in a bag and shake, throw them? How many times would you have to throw them in order for it to create a cohesive book with a plot or a subplot, antagonist, protagonist? How many? And then forget about it randomly. A chimp or a baby pulling out. It's impossible. It's impossible. So we are on a journey, a perpetual journey. But what is a Hebrew? Hebrew means the one on the other side. On the other side. That the entire world is under one auspices, and we're on the other. We're always going to be different. I remember when I first came to yeshiva, I came from the club world where I was good with everybody. And they told me, you're Jewish, you're an alien in this world. I said, what do you mean? He says, you're going to be looked at different. I said, come on, this nonsense. You're archaic. You're living in the previous century. I'm good with this. What are you talking about? When you start understanding, you are different. Nothing's wrong with them. It's not us versus them. God forbid. They're a creation of God. But they have a purpose in this world, and so do we. But we're different, and the world recognizes. What's a Jew? Yehudi. It's implicit in our name. Mohoda'ah. Acknowledgement. A Jew is a person who continuously acknowledges, constantly searches out for truth, and rejects falsehood. Yehudi shema'amin be'emet haTorah u'makrish sheker avodah zarah. A Jew is someone continuously, throughout their entire life and lifetimes, constantly searches for truth everywhere and anything, and constantly looks to reject. That's why we make the best scientists, the best pioneers, the best this, because it's innate within us not to be content with the surface of this world. And we're going to constantly, until we don't tap into that, we're going to constantly be feeling a vacuum. You've been to the, you guys been to the club world, right? Yes? A couple of times. You ever been there religiously? Yes. So I remember when I first started, and then by the time I left there, I pretty much went to the top of as much as I wanted to go. But the more I was there, the more I learned how to dance and got really good with everybody, the more I started feeling empty. I made it to the top. I had everything I wanted, anyone I wanted, at any time. And I felt emptier and emptier by the day. I'll come back to my apartment, 8, 9, 10 in the morning, just lay there all by myself, and just be, the night before we traveled, they would come to my apartment, 80, 90 people traveling the subway to Limelight, you're surrounded by people, everybody. The next morning you're there by yourself. And then what? What do you have now? And I loved it. I still love it. I'm not talking against it. But do you find what you're looking for? Did it satisfy that need to quench that thirst? Over time, you'll notice, it gives you joy, but is it doing it for me? And again, there's nothing. I told you guys I dance every night, and I love having, but.
But that search is lifelong.
And that's how I was answering him. That it could be a lifelong search.
Yeah, because you always have a minute where you're alone and you feel empty or lonely.
Fine. The question is, a question is just like we were saying before. That's God speaking to you. Okay, so you're feeling. That's a good thing to feel. Sometimes it's good to feel that. The only question is, what are you doing with it? What are you doing with it? How are you utilizing? We have to utilize every aspect of creation, every aspect of life, every up and every down. How are you utilizing that feeling? Or are you just noticing it, and that I'm an observant Jew, I observe that I'm feeling lonely?
What are you supposed to do?
Ask yourself, what am I looking for? What do I need? What am I? What's my habits? What's my habits? What I need to fine tune? What's getting in the way? There's so many ways. In other words, you don't have to bash yourself. You don't have to look down on yourself. You just ask yourself, I'm looking for something. Just the opposite. You should know one thing. The more a person notices the darkness is indicative of how much essential light they have inside. You could only notice darkness when you're familiar with light. If you weren't familiar with light, you wouldn't notice darkness. A blind person couldn't understand that darkness because that's all they know. You could tell them there's something else, but they wouldn't even know what that means. It's only a person who knows innately there's light. Huh? Exactly. And it will be more sensitive. And you should know, and we spoke about the other night, yesterday, the relationship class. You know who becomes addicts?
The most sensitive. The
most sensitive people. Only the most sensitive people become addicts. People who are not sensitive will try drugs and have a good time, but they will not go that deep to lose their life over it. It's only when somebody feels that there's so much more and this is not happening, and something is not right because they're so sensitive to the light. They said, this cannot be life. This cannot be life. This is not right. So understand that journey requires us to go to this. But when you go into these dumps, and so sometimes you could renounce. Yes, you could try to renounce or whatever it is. But here's the thing. There's the great aphorism. The greatest enemy of deceit is time, and the greatest friend of truth is time. You could lie as much as you want. Communism says we're going to be the ultimate. The 1,000-year Reich and other system come and go. We're going to hear forever. And you see, it's only a matter of time before everything falls apart. Time. The greatest friend of truth is also time. You could try to suppress the truth as much as you want, but over time it'll come out. Any of us who were not raised religious, and I'm telling you from my experience, I was raised in a way that I was taught to be antagonistic, not just tolerant, antagonistic to Judaism. My father's great, externally, because later on he changed his mind, but his biggest thing is he didn't want us to be religious. He wanted to be far removed from Judaism. And we went to public school and the projects and everything else, and there was no remote inkling that anything. And yet, my brothers and I all came back, one after the other. In other words, you could renounce whatever you want. That's part of your journey. But because you're having a central piece which is bound by this covenant, not by consciousness, not by variables or this or that, it's essence. It doesn't fluctuate. It will come out one way or another. And it will wake you up. It won't let you sleep. It'll start making you feel, I need more, I need more. And anybody here who's about Tshuva, who experiences, knows that it's not something you consciously look for. It's something that drives you way beyond consciousness. This is a Lech Lecha. Lech Lecha, go to discover you, requires you to go the ups and successes and have miserable failures. But it's all part of the same narrative. And you are the co-editor of this narrative. God sends the signals through you. You are the one that decides how to write this. Every day you're writing a paragraph in your own book. Every day you're writing another sentence, another word, exclamation mark, question mark. And one day you give that book, just like you were given a book from your parents, based on the book that they were given, you're writing now your book. And one day you're giving it to your children. And they're going to start writing. But this is a story that began thousands of years ago. We just get to live in the most exciting times of it. It's true.
Rabbi,
Chaim Lecha.
so the covenant also extends to Ishmael,
No.
but he was also circumcised.
He was circumcised at 13, and this is actually the argument between Yitzchak and Ishmael, is your connection to God based on consciousness. Ishmael says, I was 13, I felt that pain, I had to choose to experience. I need to choose to allow this. You experience at 8 years old, nobody's asking you. But this is the difference between what we're talking about and what Ishmael claimed. Ishmael says, God is something you choose consciously. Come to it on your own terms, with your own mind. And once you come, you have all the conviction. Judaism is premised, it has nothing to do with your consciousness. Consciousness is an offshoot of who you are. It's not who you are. You're not your thoughts, you're not your emotions.
But Hashem also promised that there will be many descendants.
Yeah. As the Zohar says, and we're seeing this right now. The Zohar says, based on in 2 weeks ago, next week or 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks from now is Parsha, that the Jewish people in Ishmael are going to be fine throughout all history. We're going to live side by side until the Jewish people come back to Israel. When we come back to Israel, there's going to be that initial conflict is going to rear itself. It's going to be head-on war.
Like 1946.
That's it. Because we lived together in Europe. We were fine. We did. They protected us. We protected them. The mosque is the only non-Jewish establishment that we could go and daven in. You can't walk into a church even to sightsee. How much more so to daven? Forbidden. But a mosque you could go daven.
Really?
Yeah. Because
something there. Like anytime I walk in, just heavy. It's not good.
Where? In the mosque?
In churches.
Oh, in churches.
because churches is idol worship. The energy of the walls, everything has energy. Everything, quantum physics shows us everything has energy. Absorbs energy, and so on and so forth, transmits energy. We're not, because it interferes with the frequency of our soul. Very simple. But a mosque is totally fine. Again, we lived side by side with the Tartars, with the Muslims there were times we were insane, but for the most part. Once we came, 1948 to Israel, or we just started, satellite community started in the 1800s to Palestine back then. This is where the turbulence began. The Zohar said the last conflict is going to be between Ishmael and the Jewish people once we move back to Israel. And this is we're watching this unfold right now. We're seeing this. For thousands of years, people could only understand this when it was written. Now we're seeing it. Who would ever imagine that we would come back? And in this generation, we did. And we're seeing it. It's become, as Mashiach is coming, this is becoming more pronounced and more pronounced, and it's taking over the world because that's what the Torah says. It's a blueprint. We have nothing to be afraid of. We have a God. We shouldn't be upset. That's another thing. Don't be angry with that. Don't be like, to defend yourself, you have to defend yourself. You have, our boys and girls who are defending Israel, they have to do what you have to do. But we, as a people, we should be a light unto the nation. We shouldn't walk around with anger and anxiety and this and that. Do what you got to do. Live your life. There's a God in the world, and you're his satellite. You're the one that streams him. Continue this next week, Hashem.